Morning. Hope everyone's having a great day. I am, as usual, pretty fantastic. Today a little bit something different. There's no hike in the works, no buttery B-roll for you. I don't know if you recall, but I included in my outtakes a little bit of a stumble and fall on the last hike. And as that turns out, I may or may not have broken a rib. So I've been taking it easy the past week, but I still wanted to give you a little bit of content. And so today I want to talk about my favorite piece of gear. And when you're through hiking or going a little bit more ultralight, what you find is the best gear is quite often those that have multiple uses. And so in my humble opinion, there is no better piece of gear than the buff. Let's get into it. Welcome to my Hikification. Before we start talking about the buff, we've got a package. And who doesn't love packages? Let's do an unboxing. So I've actually been really looking forward to this package for a bit. Now, as you may or may not know, I like photography. And to go with my hiking last year, I moved over to Fuji and I took the X-T20. Which is a great little camera, but leaves a little bit be desired on the video side. And so I've decided to up my game a little bit. And I have purchased the Fuji X-T3, which is going to be a great little hybrid camera to go between the video as well as the pictures. To go with it, I've got the big 50 to 140 lens. The Fuji X-T3 is a mirrorless camera. It's got an APS-C sensor, so a little smaller than the full frame, but it does bring the compact nature to it as well. So as usual, we've got the manuals. Don't really need those. Instructions. Let's get to the good stuff. There we go. This is going to be my my new workhorse. So looking forward to it. It's got the flip out screen. Unfortunately, it's not fully articulating, the one downside for vlogging. Now this camera is supposed to give excellent video quality with up to 4K, up to 60 frames per second, as well as some buttery smooth slow-mo at 120 frames per second in 180p. So, let me know if you see my vlogs improve in the future. If so, this may be the responsible party. And to go with it is the 50 to 140 lens, which is about a 70 to 200 on a full frame. This is primarily more for photography, as it does give me that telephoto zoom capability. Comes with a lens bag, manuals, there we go. It's a big boy, but not too big. So I am always amazed at the number of different uses you can come up with for literally just a tube of material. If we start with, we look at how one can wear it. And the easiest and probably most common is you just take it and you throw it on your head. And a little bit of material hangs back, gives you a little bit of sun protection on your neck. But if you want to mix things up a little bit, have a little less tail, you can turn it inside out, take it around back, and then just pull it over onto itself a little bit. And then you just have the tail tucked underneath. And for a little bit of a lesser tail, turn inside out, grab the two opposing ends, pull it through, push that knot down a little bit, then take that and flip it over. And for those that don't want any tail kind of hanging out, start with it inside out. Put it on, pull out the material, give it a twist, fold it over itself, and you have the beanie. So those are pretty much the hat options. I also like to wear the headband. Essentially just fold it in half again. Doesn't have to be precise. Keeps the hair out of your eyes. Speaking of hair, for those with longer hair, the ladies who want to put it in a ponytail, take your buff, rolled up as it is, twist it on each other, and you can kind of pull your hair through. So now you can also just wear it for when the weather gets a little bit colder. And there's different type of materials you can use, but I use a lot as a scarf. Keeps the neck warm. Bring it up a little bit to cover your mouth. This helps keep some of the cold air out. I also will use this when I'm riding my motorcycle. If the air is heavy with pollutants, this is a great filter as well. Following a similar vein, when it's cold out, you can cover your ears. And going one step further, grabbing a little bit of material down below, bring it and roll it up. You can have the full balaclava. Now for the ladies, I wouldn't recommend it for the trail, but if you've ever walked Survivor, you know you can also wear it as a two-top. I'm going to do everyone a favor though and not demonstrate that one. So one of the best uses I find for the buff, outside of wearing it, is just using it as a rag. I take it, I roll it on, twist it onto itself, and I just slide on my wrist, and I leave it there through the day, especially during those hotter months. And as it gets hot and you're hiking, I can just wipe the sweat off my brow, make it really convenient. Similarly, in the hot, wet weather, dip it in water, throw it on your head. It really cools you off as well. But just like any rag, you can wash with it, you can wipe the condensation off your tent. There are numerous ways and functions you can use the buff. Some additional ways I've utilized my buff. I don't know if you've ever slept in a Z-Pac's tent, but they let a lot of light through. And if you've ever tried to sleep in a little bit on a sunny morning, buff as a blindfold works wonders. Pretty comfortable, blocks the light, maybe it'll give you that extra half hour of sleep. When I was a little bit injured and both my knees were causing some problems, I only had one knee brace. I also used it a bit as a compression sleeve. Took the buff, again, turned it on itself, rolled it through, rolled it up on my leg, gave it extra, just a little bit of support on my knee, made a world of difference. I imagine if you're injured or have a cut, you could also use it for a similar purpose. A couple of other ways I've used mine. One of the things I would do when sleeping in the hammock is I would take it, I would run it through a carabiner, I would attach that to my ridge line in the hammock, so that kind of line going across the top just below the bug net. And what this does is it gives you a nice place to leave some of your valuables. So at night, I'd put the phone in there, maybe a headlamp, anything that I potentially would need to grab in the middle of the night. And so that's above you, hanging while you're sleeping. Easy pocket to grab things out of. For those of you that use Aquamira drops instead of filtering through like a Sawyer squeeze, you know quite often you get particles in your bottled water. Well, the material in a buff is actually just the right weave where you can put it over top of the nozzle and you can filter out some of that debris to get nice clean water and then use your Aquamira to get rid of the viruses, etc. So another good use for the buff. Add in cooking over an open flame or even just your stove, titanium pots can get pretty hot. I almost always use the buff as a cloth to be able to grab my pot so I don't burn myself. Has anybody ever tried to dig a cat hole with the deuce of spades? Got to follow those leave no trace principles, but these edges, they dig into your hand. I would quite often take my buff, wrap it around the handle, made digging those cat holes that much easier. Still on the subject of sleeping in the hammock, one of my luxury items have always been my blow-up pillow. But on a long distance hike, sleeping on this every night can get a little bit rank. So I use a buff as a pillowcase. Not only is it a little bit softer, but you have the benefit you can wash it every now and again. And finally, you'll see that my buff has a map of the Appalachian Trail on it. So, if you ever find yourself off the trail and you're lost, well, you're going to have something to read while you wait to die. Okay, there you go. I think I've lost count of how many ways I can use this buff. But when I think about my best piece of gear, and with versatility being that primary criteria, well, the buff far and away, in my opinion, exceeds anything else I've ever used. So let me know, what are your thoughts on the buff? How else have you used this? Put your comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. Till next time, hike on.